everyone. So in this video, we will learn about 7.1 trigonometric ratios and identities. So for this subtopic, we will recap on how to state the trigonometric ratios, second one on how to use special angles, evaluate trigonal function for any angles, and last one, the use of Pythagoras identity. So we start with the first one, trigonometric ratios. I believe all of you still remember. So altogether, we have three basic ratios for trigonometric function. The first one will be sine theta. So for sine theta, in order to find that, it's basically opposite of a hypotenuse. So based on this right angle triangle here, if we want to find sine theta, that's why we get PQ, that's the opposite side, divided by PR, that's the hypotenuse part. The second function would be cos theta, which is adjacent of the hypotenuse. So based on the triangle itself, once again, adjacent would be QR, and then hypotenuse is still PR. That's why we get QR divided by PR. And then last one for tangent theta, it's basically opposite of the adjacent. That's why we get PQ divided by QR. I believe all of you have an acronym to remember this. The famous one would be SO, KA, TOA. So make sure you remember this acronym so that you don't confuse to find the basic ratio for sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, moving on. From basic, we have the extended of it would be, we don't have here in the lecture note. Okay, never mind. So, extended of these three basic ratio, we will find secant theta, cosecant theta, and cotangent theta. Saya drag ke tepi ya. Okay. So, in order to remember this another three extended ratio, let's say we start with the first one, secant theta, we can refer to the third alphabet here. So, if it's C, now it means that secant theta will be 1 over cosine theta. So in order to find this, it's basically the other way around of our cosine. So in order to find cosine just now, it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant theta would be hypotenuse over adjacent. Next function that we have would be cosecant theta. So the third alphabet of it would be S, means that this would be equal to 1 over sine theta. So in order to find this, it would be equal to hypotenuse divided by opposite. And then last extended function that we have involving cotangent theta. So the third letter that we have here is T, means it's equal to 1 over tangent theta. So in order to find this, the ratio would be adjacent over opposite. That is basically all 6 basic trigonometric ratios. Okay, moving on, next one. We have complementary angle. I believe all of you still remember this. So it's basically just based on our right angle triangle itself. So sine of 90 minus theta will be equal to cos theta. And the other way around, cos of 90 minus theta will be equal to sine theta. And then we have tangent of 90 minus theta equal to cotangent theta. Okay. So we proceed with example 1 involving basic ratios. If we have cotangent theta equal to 3 over 4 and is an acute angle, find tangent theta, sine theta, secant theta, and cosecant theta. So basically, when it's involving acute angle, remember the range. So acute angle involving first quadrant itself means that our theta lies from 0 up to 90 degree only. Okay, from here, if we have the ratios, the basic ratios, we can transform this information into triangle, right angle triangle involving first quadrant. Let's say I sketch our axis. So first quadrant lies here, means that our triangle, right angle triangle, will be like this. And then we have theta here. Okay. Now we have to transfer the information. So remember, cotangent theta is basically 1 over tangent theta. And as before, that will be adjacent over opposite. So our ratio here will be adjacent yang bersebelahan. Kalau siapa pakai bahasa Melayu, bersebelahan. So dia akan jadi 3 kat sini, bawah our base. And then opposite will be bertentangan. So dia akan jadi 4. And then from here, by using Pythagoras theorem, for sure you can find your hypotenuse. Pakailah Pythagoras theorem nak cari kita punya hypotenuse kat situ. And it will be 5. Saya tak tunjuk lah ya. Saya harap semua orang still remember very clearly our Pythagoras theorem for right angle triangle. Okay. So from this diagram, we can deduce another 4 ratios that the question asks for. So first one, we have to find tangent theta, and basically that would be opposite over adjacent. Saya tulis jugalah kat dalam diagram ni siapa opposite, siapa adjacent, siapa hypotenuse, in case ada yang masih hilang ingatan benda basic ni. So 4 will be our opposite sebab dia bertentangan dengan theta. And then 3 will be the adjacent sebab dia duduk bersebelahan dengan theta. And then 5 will be hypotenuse itself sebab itu memang hypotenuse lah kat situ. Okay, so we continue back. Opposite over adjacent, straight away from the triangle itself, you're gonna get 4 over 3. And that's basically the other way part of our cotangent theta. Dia memang terbalik macam tu lah. Kalau cot tadi kita dapat 3 over 4, tangent confirm 4 over 3. Okay, moving on. Next one, we have to find Sine Theta. So Sine Theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Based on the triangle itself, we're gonna get 4 over 5. Moving on, next one, we have Secant Theta. So remember the third alphabet itself. So C, that is basically 1 over cos. So in the sense of ratio, this will be hypotenuse over adjacent. So we gonna get 5 over 3. And then last one, we have to find cosecant theta. Remember the third alphabet itself is S. So it's 1 over sine means hypotenuse over opposite. So 5 over 4. And that's complete our first example 1A. So just make sure you construct a correct right angle triangle diagram based on the requirement of the question, then you will have no problem to find all basic ratios. Okay, kita proceed. Next one, example 1B. So, the same pattern, given that cos of x would be 0.8, evaluate 5 sin x minus 3 tangent x plus d cosecant x. So, from the first info itself, cos of x equal to 0.8. From here, we can transform this into right angle triangle once again. So, cos lies positive on the first and fourth quadrant. Sekarang ni kita ambil first quadrant lah yang paling senang kan sebab dia basic. Okay. So, x here. So, remember when it comes to cos, it's adjacent. Saya tulis kat sini. Adjacent over hypotenuse. So, maksudnya sebelah kita tu 8, hypotenuse 10. Saya kecilkan, kita akan dapat 4 over 5. So, now we know that our adjacent sebelah x tu 4. Saya buat kat situ lah huruf A. And then hypotenuse would be 5. From here, using Pythagoras Using Pythagoras theorem, you're gonna get the height itself or the opposite side. And then this for sure will be 3. Saya tulis O kat situ, opposite kita. Okay, so from here, deduce the question. So we have 5 sine of x. Remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So 3 over 5. Minus with 3 times with tangent x. So opposite over adjacent. So 3 over 4 there. And then last one, we have to plus with 3. Cosecant of x. So, ingat 1 over sine. So, flip over lah daripada sine tadi. Kalau sine is 3 over 5 means cosecant will be 5 over 3. Macam gitu je. So, after that, Awak simplify and then calculate everything using calculator. Our answer here would be 23/4. Settle 1B. Moving on, we have 1C. So from here, given that tangent theta is 1/set7, find cosecant squared theta minus secant squared theta divided by cosecant squared theta plus secant squared theta. Okay, sama je konsep macam yang tadi. Kalau kita ada basic ratios macam ni dalam soalan, first step would be you have to construct the triangle. Right angle triangle tu korang kena lukis sendiri. Okay, so sekarang kita buat benda yang sama. Ambil first quadrant lah. Kalau dia tak mention apa-apa, tak nampak negatif, kena ingat semua ratios akan positif on the first quadrant. Sine, cos ataupun tangent confirm positif kat dalam first quadrant. So kita biasanya akan lukis the right angle triangle on the first quadrant. Jangan menyusahkan diri pilih quadrant lain. Kalau ada negatif ke, then yes, kita akan adjust benda tu ikut quadrant tertentu. Okay, so saya lukis dah. Now we have theta here. Okay, remember tangent is basically opposite over adjacent. Tentang bahagi sebelah. So, tentang daripada theta kita sekarang akan dapat 1. That will be the adjacent part. And then sebelah kita akan jadi set7. That will be our, adjacent. Yang ni tadi opposite. Saya salah label. 1 tu opposite. Set7 will be adjacent. Okay. From here, we have to use Pythagoras theorem. Find the hypotenuse. So, kita ada set7 squared plus 1 squared. Square root of it, we gonna get set of 8. And that will be the hypotenuse. Okay. Barulah kita boleh cari apa yang soalan minta. Okay, kita deduce dulu the basic one. So, cosecant, ingat cosecant squared theta is basically cosecant theta that we squared. Kita boleh squaredkan benda tu macam tu. Itu konsep dia. Dia sama maksud. Bukannya itulah cerita dia. Cosecant squared theta equal to cosecant theta that we squared. The whole thing squared basically. So kita boleh cari cosecant dulu. So cosecant theta, remember the third alphabet is S. So it's basically 1/sine theta. Dia akan jadi terbalik. Hypotenuse over opposite. So from here we get hypotenuse tadi set 8, opposite is 1. So kita dapatlah set 8 untuk cosecant. Okay. And then next one, sama juga konsep. Secant squared tu yang kita nak kena cari. So secant squared theta is equal to secant theta, the whole thing that we squared. So in order to find secant theta, it's basically 1/, huruf ketiga, ingat jangan careless kat sini. So it's cos theta. So flip over cos theta, we get hypotenuse over adjacent. From the triangle diagram, we get this as set of 8/7. Saya satukan teruslah set tu. Ingat pakai set properties, set 7 divided by set 8. Set 8 divided by set 7, terbalik pula. Okay, would be set of 8/7. Okay, now we can compute what the question asks for. So, substitute one by one, we gonna get set 8 squared. Jangan risau, bila dah squared, set tu dah hilang kan? Minus set of 8/7 squared divided by set of 8 squared plus set of 8/7 squared. Lepas tu tekan je lah calculator kat situ. Make sure jangan buat careless masa menekan. Your final answer would be 3/4. Okay. Next one. Still using the same triangle. We have to find sine squared divided by 4/cos squared. Okay, sekejap saya sketch semula triangle yang kita dapat tadi. Kita ada ini, theta, hypotenuse is set 8, our adjacent is set 7, and then opposite basically 1. Okay, so from here, sama je konsep macam tadi. Remember, sine squared theta is basically equal to sine theta squared. So, sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So, from here, we get 1/set 8. And then we have to find cos theta. So sama konsep juga. Cos squared theta is basically, sekejap saya tarik ke tepi sikit. Okay. So cos squared theta equal to cos theta, the whole thing squared. So cos theta will be adjacent over hypotenuse. Cah kat situ. Cah, apa-apalah yang awak ingat. So adjacent will be sec 7. Hypotenuse sec 8. Saya satukan terus sec 7 over 8. So substitute this into our question. We will get sine squared is basically 1 over sec 8. The whole thing squared. Divided by 4 plus cos squared. So we have sec 7 over 8 squared. Lepas tu, sama je konsep. Awak tekanlah calculator. And then kita akan dapat answer here is 1 over 39. Okay. Settle. So, trik kita step dia fix kat sini. Bila kita dapat basic ratio in our question, transform this into triangle diagram. Make sure your triangle based on the quadrant and its right angle triangle. Transferkan info ikut ratio yang dibagi, tangent or sine or cosine. Ada 6 ratios kat situ. Get the opposite, adjacent and hypotenuse. After that, awak dah boleh deduce apa je yang soalan minta.